following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Scotty Scheffler had a Stone Cold Steve Austin moment today. Anybody remember there was a couple launch pads that really put Stone Cold over when he was, in like 97, 98? Austin 316, that was the first thing. And then the second thing is when he gave the Stone Cold Stunner to Vince McMahon. Mm-hmm. But do you remember what happened after that?
What's that?
He was arrested. Mm-hmm. Comes back. Every arena from there on out. The rest of his whole career. Austin.
Biggest draw ever.
And now Scotty Scheffler comes back after being arrested this morning. Scotty, don't. That was from Austin Powers, but Scotty. Every time he'd tee off, Scotty. He was a bigger deal after the arrest.
Yep. I would agree. It captured national attention.
That has to do a lot with the eyewitnesses saying that there had to be a misunderstanding. And I'm with Dan Patrick. I was listening to a lot of Dan Patrick from 1 to 4 today here on K-Man, and it was a lot of listening. I don't know the cop's point of view, what he saw, or his take on that whole thing. I'm with him. There's two sides of the story. Scotty Scheffler is facing a pretty serious charge, a felony charge.
Yep.
And this thing is not done. There's a long way to – I don't know, maybe not long way to go, but who knows what's going to happen with the charges. I don't think it's just going to be it's just a misunderstanding. Don't worry about it. Just forget it ever happened. That's not – I don't think that's the case. Maybe things will get resolved and everybody will just go their separate ways and he may not be charged – at some point, but that is a hard thing to predict right now, and I have not seen enough evidence either to make a judgment on what exactly happened. Welcome to the game, Mitch Fortner and Owen Burke, and today is an end of an era. Owen is leaving us after today.
Unfortunately, so a very bittersweet moment for me.
But we're going to go out the right way because we're out at 5:30. We got K-State baseball coming up at 5:30. First pitch 6:05 from Toyton Family Stadium. Cats, BYU Cougars. The Latter-day Saints are back in town for their second game of a 3-game series. And Cats looking to win the series today after winning in 12 last night. Dramatic fashion. A line drive up the middle from Kyan Lotus. Bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the 12th inning. And the Cats get it done to get back to 500. In Big 12 play. We'll have Owen one more time play a little blindly ranked 5. It's one of my favorite blindly ranked 5s I've ever put together. So I hope you I really really hope you do enjoy it. We'll get to a little Coach Klieman because earlier today there was a Aer Lingus college football classic press conference earlier today, which unfortunately I had to miss, but I did get some sound bites from it. We'll play those back here later on in this first hour. We'll get an Owen exit interview at 5:10. Did want to lead off by talking about some K-State basketball. I hope everybody is ready this upcoming season. I'm pumped. I'm already thinking about what could be in the 2024-25 season. I'm typically not the one to get ahead of yourself, stay grounded one day at a time. It's hard to tell, let's see how these guys gel. Let's give it a couple of games, get a real true image. Some eyewitness testimony from myself will be coming after a few games, but I just can't help it because I know what this staff wants to accomplish with it, the identity of how they play, the kind of offense they want to run, because it's going to attract some big-time recruits that are thinking next-level opportunity. That's why they're trying to go 5 out with this offense. Didn't quite, wasn't to its full potential, obviously, last year. I'll just leave last year at that. I hope you like athletes. I hope you like scoring. I hope you like three-point shooting.
Yeah.
There is something quite in common with a lot of these dudes. And now there's 7. maybe that's where we should start first. Where at this point, on May 17, 2024, Jerome Tang only has 2 scholarships to fill. 2.
Dose.
And there's already another name popping up as a, I don't know how close it is to happening, if it is at all. These last 3 guys that have committed to K-State have been real quiet, kind of under the radar recruitments and then commitments that kind of comes out of nowhere. And some names you haven't even heard of, and then you start doing some research and you start looking at some numbers. It's like, by God, this staff is not slowing down on this talent. They've had some misses. They've had misses every year that I'm sure they would have loved to have. Absolutely, they would have loved to have. Really redeeming themselves with this latest momentum. And, gosh, I can't remember when it was. It was the last Wildcat Insider? Or maybe the second to last? Maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. Talking to Jerome Tang, he was hoping to have the whole class done in 2 to 7 days. Well, it's certainly past 2 to 7 days. I even thought that was a stretch. And, things they weren't expecting happened, I'm sure, with Data Ames and Arthur Klieman. Mm-hmm. But, boy, they still made moves. And it's happened quicker than I thought it would. To be at this spot it's very comfortable. Like, boy, this could be a pretty stress-free summer.
Yeah.
For this staff, for this team, to already know what they have and to plan accordingly. To me, that's pretty impressive. Going back to the athleticism and the scoring, I've been trying to think of a good analogy because I see, like, the K-State football offense. It's going to be like a fast and furious race with all that speed, that horsepower that the Cats are going to have in the backfield and can potentially have at other spots in the field, the skill positions. Garrett Oakley's going to be a stud. We'll see what the wide receivers can do. But they're going to have some speed, and they're going to have some ability to make some plays, and it's a hell of a two-headed monster that K-State's going to have in that backfield. That's why Eli's like, man, one of the Fast and Furious movie races, that's exactly what that offense can potentially be. I kind of see like this K-State basketball offense like a pinball machine.
Up and down.
Just up and down, moving that basketball. Anybody can take it on. You never know what's, I don't know if that's the best analogy, but I just kind of like, bing, 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 scoring points, going up on the board, bing, 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 just racking it up. Getting all those bonuses and,
Because they're going to be running. I mean, I think that's going to be a very, their half-court set is going to be something that draws a lot of that talent in. But if this team gets out and runs, it's going to not be fun for a lot of teams with the athleticism and the speed that they have to just be able to go in attack mode. And the defense may struggle a bit because you're going to be a little bit more tired. You're going that much farther on offense. But, hey, guess what? If you're shooting 45, 50, 55% from the field and you're getting up and down the floor, you're probably not too worried about how much you're scoring because you're putting up a ton of points at that point. So
I think with the recruits, and I still want to mention Bayfall once in a while because I think he gets kind of lost in the shuffle because he just doesn't have the experience the rest of these guys have, the numbers that the rest of these guys have. He's going to play the 5 position, big guy out of Arkansas, just got very limited experience that 1 year at Arkansas, but it's not like he didn't come out of high school with one of the higher recruits in his class. Like if he would have come to K-State as a true freshman, it would have been one of the highest recruits in K-State basketball history. And he will, we'll see what kind of role he has. But not the 3-point shooter though that a lot of these other guys are. And let's revisit that part of the equation because that's something that most of these guys have in common, and that is really good 3-point shooting. I mentioned before, Moby, Ike Garuka, and Achora joined the team yesterday, that K-State was already in a solid place to be better for sure, but I think the big step in the right direction is being more consistent as a 3-point shooting team when you have Doug McDaniel, who shot 37%, C.J. Jones that shot 38%, Max Jones that shot 39%, and Brendan Housen, who was, again, just a spot shooting 3-pointer, 38% all last year. You put them all together, That's a 38% shooting bunch of guys that are all going to contribute this next year in your offense. So now let's add Moby and Achor to the equation. Because I mentioned yesterday, Achor was a 43.5% shooter last year at Samford. And it's not like he only shot like 6, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like you just hit 6 or like 7 and he made 3 last year. It wasn't anything like that. Now, Moby, I thought his numbers were higher than that. Was 50%. He was 3 of 6. So he's more of an inside scorer. I think that's pretty clear now. He's a very good inside the arc scorer. 19 points a game without really hitting any threes is really good.
Yeah, and especially because you're looking, it's probably a lot of one-on-one. He's getting himself to the rack, and guess what? You need to run a 5-out offense.
And Moby is, I keep going to the Naquan Tomlin comparison. It's not just because they were both JUCO guys. They're both incredibly raw with their athleticism. Incredibly raw, and I love that. Love that. They play so loose. And if they could just control the ball, man, they could be magicians and make some great plays. And Tomlin at times could certainly do that. And I see the exact same in Moby Ike Garuka. Achor was 27 of 62 from three-point range. So once again, let's add up all the numbers by throwing Achor in the equation, along with the other 4 studs before these two coming in as three-point shooters. And all of last year, you throw the numbers combined, 217 out of 565 from three-point range for 38.5%. That's my excitement.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because as a team last year, K-State shot 31%.
31%,
yeah. That's an improvement right out the gate, and it's something that you need to have in today's day and age. Where you can like it, you could not like it, you don't agree with it, you think it's overused. The bottom line is the three-pointer is here to stay, and you have to be able to shoot it at a high clip. The reason I love watching all this happen, because this is exactly how I'd build a team. I need at least 4 shooters on the floor at all times, because I want that drive and kick. It's the easiest way to get buckets. You're just help defense comes, you pass to the right guy. It's an easy 3 points every time down the court.
I mean, with these 6 guys, Bayfall, I'm sorry again. I'm kind of leaving you out of this equation. I know you have a ton of potential. I'm just kind of going off of what was done this last year with these other 6 recruits. And by the way, K-State still has 2 scholarships open to fill, and we'll get to that here in just a second because there's another name that's on the horizon. That's on the radar, not the horizon, the radar to maybe potentially might keep an eye on your peripherals on this name. But, I mean, you add up all the scoring numbers, and you're talking about 16 points a game, 11, 15, 19, 17. These were all guys at the previous stops that could really – Brendan Housen, again, was just 6 points a game, but could be so deadly as an insurance policy as a three-point shooter. But everybody else, double-digit numbers every night and some big numbers. Big numbers. Throw all the numbers together, even with Brendan Housen, they're averaging as a group 14 points a game per player. Per player, 85 points a game, like as a group, incredible scores. That's the excitement.
Yeah.
If you like a team that scores some points, and by the way, there's a few of these guys could play a little defense. Now the name is you look forward. The name on the radar. I can't want to say horizon for some reason. On the radar. I'm glad DY mentioned him on the boards today because I also heard about this name, and I wanted to bring it up because it's another one of those, okay, so has a couple of years under his belt, limited minutes, not the most beautiful scoring numbers, but I mean, out of high school, you're looking at this kid that could be a one and done, has that pro look to him, would be a 5, he's 7 foot, but like everybody else, is really athletic. For his size, he is very athletic. The guy can scoot. And I'm talking about Ugonna Onyenso. He is a transfer from Kentucky. He only averaged about 3.5 points per game last year, 4.5 for 5 rebounds. But what makes him really good is that he is an elite, and that is in bold letters, elite rim protector.
I love me a good rim protector.
That is a piece that you could certainly add to your puzzle and have a pretty clear game plan with. Have a role. You bring him in for a few minutes here and there, and maybe that role would even be bigger here. I'm sure that's the pitch. And give you some really solid minutes and protect that rim when you're shuffling guys around in the rotation.
And when you can have a guy that's that large and can almost encompass the paint by himself, it allows you to go small at the other four spots if they want to get weird. And if the matchup calls for it, have Brennan Housen at like the 4, and then you're relying upon him to basically guard the interior by himself. And now your offense completely opens up because you now have Brennan Housen is your 4th guy. That's a crazy shooter to add where you would usually have a big in that 4 spot. So I like what they're doing because they're building different lineups. There's not a ton, there's a lot of redeeming qualities that they share, but again, they all move so well and you can get different things with different combinations.
I want to add something to this because this roster is adding up they're taking, of course, they're in the portal, so it's not like they're just, poaching or anything like that. But, you've taken guys from that they were the best players on their team and bringing them all together that you feel like you may have a few too many egos on the team. I absolutely do not see it that way. I think a lot of these guys like a Max Jones or C.J. Jones rather, and Doug McDaniel and Brendan Housen is an underrated passer. These guys also had a lot of assists. Doug McDaniel was one of the best passers in the Big Ten. C.J. Jones was averaging almost 5 assists per ball game. And I could totally see this team. It could be a high turnover team. I could see that with, what they want to do with the 5-out offense, with so much ball handling, some dribbling, passing, that it could be a high turnover team. But like Coach Tang said, that last year's team could win with high turnovers. They just didn't win enough. I could see this team being a better suit for, you may turn it over a little bit too much, but they're going to survive.
And the thing that bails you out of those situations a lot of the time when you're losing possessions, you just lost 17 turnovers a game is 17 chances you had to score the basketball. What makes up for a lot of those? Consistent three-point shooting, something that they did not have last year where you can go down and you can get multiple, you could get more than 2 points at a possession. So now having that consistent shooting, they definitely have a higher chance of winning those high turnover games. It'd obviously be nice to keep it down, but I do 100% agree with you. When you play this offense, you're getting up and down the floor, you're moving the ball around a lot, and you're isoing a lot. Turnovers are going to happen. And it wasn't the end of the world for this team last year. They still competed a lot. And again, I think this group is better suited to compete in those situations now.
Let's take our first break. Still to come in hour number 1. We'll blindly rank 5, but when we come back, had the Aer Lingus College Football Classic press conference earlier today. We'll play some of those highlights, including Chris Klieman, maybe a little hesitant to do this whole Ireland thing. Here's some clips when we come back. You're listening to The Game.
Viva la raza!
Well, Eddie Guerrero.
Indeed.
Latino Heat.
Is this your favorite theme song of his? He's got a couple.
Yes. Well, I loved his WCW thing.
What's funny is I think when I was looking this one up, the most recent search was Eddie Guerrero WCW theme. And I almost played it because I figured it was probably you, but I didn't.
Oh, it was definitely me. See if I can find it because I just YouTube ads.
YouTube ads got to you?
If I remember, it's like boom, boom. Okay, kill that for a second. I think this is it here. Hold on a second. Let's see if this is it. Oh, yeah. Just like a nice little groove. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, yes, sir. Boom, boom, boom.
Nice and simple.
Boom, boom, boom. So anyway, miss that guy. Never saw him wrestle.
Really? Yeah, he is the main wrestler in our final edition of This Day in Wrestling History.
Go ahead.
So it was yesterday, not today, unfortunately, but 2004 Judgment Day, JBL picked up a DQ victory over Eddie Guerrero, the infamous chair shot that single-handedly changed the rating of that pay-per-view to TVMA.
I'd never seen somebody so bloodied by a chair shot than that match.
It was honestly, if I try to think of like the most bloody matches I can remember that I watched back then, it would have been that one, and then it was actually, I think it was Judgment Day in 2005, JBL and John Cena in an I Quit match. That one was also, and then, man, what's up with Judgment Day? Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon, too. That wasn't a super bloody one, but you remember him?
Threw him through glass?
Yeah, dropping him on his head a couple times because they used the wrong glass.
So I think in that match alone, so that was King of the Ring, what year did you say that, 2002?
Yeah.
So Kurt Angle said he broke his tailbone, which I can't imagine that pain.
Wrestling through that?
Well, I mean, and he's got the adrenaline flowing, but it's like,
still,
geez Louise, that would be horrible.
Yeah.
And then Shane McMahon broke something, but he also got thrown through glass twice, and he's then cut up by that.
Yeah, he's had a concussion because they used the wrong glass. So
That's right, the concussion. He got dropped on his head twice on concrete because it wouldn't break.
Yeah, they were supposed to use like the sugar glass or whatever. It's a little bit easier to break. No, it was the real stuff, and he didn't go through on the first time.
I remember WWE used to air a commercial. It was like a "Don't try this at home" commercial, and it was like the whole commercial was like these wrestlers naming off the injuries that they've had due to wrestling. And half of that commercial was from that one match.
I can imagine. Yeah. That's it stacks up pretty well. But yeah, those two matches at Judgment Day, they were both JBL, one Eddie Guerrero, one John Cena. I remember that John Cena one very vividly. That was on his disc, the 3 disc sets that they always put out for each wrestler. I had Rey Mysterio's and John Cena's back in the day.
Well, earlier today, K-State football, along with the co-founder of the Aer Lingus College Football Classic, John Anthony, and the Consul General of Ireland, Robert Hull, were there in attendance with Chris Klieman, K-State head coach, and athletics director Gene Taylor. Let's play some of the highlights from this press conference earlier today. That game against Iowa State will be played next August, not this August, next August, August 23rd, 2025, Aviva Stadium. I feel like you should say that with emphasis. Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland. Klieman a little bit hesitant about this whole Ireland thing at first.
I knew it'd be a great opportunity, but I'm like, okay, how does that affect a lot of things? And I reached out to some coaches that I know in the profession really well that had been in that game, and the common theme was if we could do it every year, we'd do it every year. And that resonated with me. I visited with a couple of our coaches, the Irishman, Coach Riley, and he was like, well, I'll go if you won't. And so I knew that it was going to be received really well with our staff.
Hey, shout out to Connor Riley. I like that. He got the Cats of Ireland, kind of talk Coach into it a little bit, at least, you know. If I'm climbing it, absolutely would I be a little bit hesitant, a little pushback, thinking about, because as soon as you hear the possibility, Ireland, week 0, conference game, Iowa State, here comes the yellow legal pad out. You're starting to write down some pros and cons, but, climbing again, this is a big experience for everybody.
It was just an opportunity for these guys to experience something that not a lot of college kids are going to be able to do, especially college football players, and have that opportunity to put Kansas State on that kind of a stage. And the fact that it is a conference game and it starts us off, that's something that it's been a long time since I've been a part of a conference opener to open up a season and then to have it as a week 0. Everybody in the country, everybody in the world is going to be watching that football game, and what a stage for the Big 12, what a stage for Kansas State football.
All right, guys, trivia time. Let's do a little trivia question. What was the last year K-State opened the season with a conference game?
Oh, boy. I have no idea. You want me to take a stab at a random year?
I have a feeling, give people a few more seconds to think about it. I promise you might be, if you don't have the answer yet, it's because you're thinking too hard. I know you have the history locked away somewhere. August 31st, 1996, the first ever Big 12 game, K-State, Texas Tech.
How about it?
Here at the Bill was the last time the Cats opened the season
Wow.
with a conference game. Of course, the Cats won that game 21-14 in front of 43,143, also televised on ABC. Here's a nice little trivia question along with it, a little side question. What game that time kickoff?
Noon.
Who remembers? No. 2:30.
I was going to guess 3.
Bill Snyder was a big 1 o'clock guy, but he didn't get 1 o'clock because it was on ABC.
Yeah, you got to deal with the old TV schedule there.
All right, we got one more clip from Chris Klieman. He was asked about this after everybody gave a little speech about this game, about how the schedule is going to look after the Island trip, because that's exactly what Klieman's thinking about. Oh, week 0, do we get to start practice early? What happens after that game? Do we have a week off to get back and get things right, get our clocks right? We're going to be a little bit of jet lag. Here's Klieman.
We're going to play the week after for sure. That was the first thing. Are we going to play the week after? And some of the people that I talked to encouraged us to play the week after. And that's kind of as far ahead as we've gotten. We're going to visit with the Big 12 about, we're going to get an extra bye week in there of trying to get that maybe after the non-con and then finding another one somewhere in the middle of the season.
There's a really good prank when the NFL schedules came out. I think this was a couple of years ago. And because it's kind of the opposite feeling with the NFL when they do have a London game or Germany game. Like, they want the bye week the next week. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the Jaguars, and they did a prank on the schedule release showing them a fake schedule. And it said, all right, Germany or London or wherever they are going, and then no bye week the next week, then they're going to Los Angeles.
Oh,
just like to get the reaction. All that travel would be really brutal. That's a lot of time in a plane. In kind of a short amount of time. But the NFL typically will give a team a bye week after they play overseas. But Klieman says, no, they're going to play again that next week after the game in Ireland. And I'm pretty sure, I think that's the year, I think they have the Army game. Could be an Army game, probably an FCS game. Okay, now let's switch things over to the co-founder of the Aer Lingus College Football Classic in John Anthony. He answered the question, why K-State in the game?
It is a combination of football quality and fan quantity. You're playing really high-quality football. We notice that. That's what we want. And your fans are so loyal and so rabid and so strong that they follow everywhere you go. That's the formula we're looking for. So we know we've got that here. The idea of having a rivalry game with Iowa State is huge for us.
Oh, I cut the clip off early. Right after that, he said, we also need people that drink a ton of beer.
Yeah, you definitely should have left that part in there.
I should have left that in there. That was the golden part of the whole clip. We need some booze bags coming over to Ireland. Of course, when he says booze bags, it's Iowa State fans. But no, he didn't say that at all. Kellis did bring up hey, you guys gonna have enough beer to handle this crowd? I think Ireland will be okay. They have more than just beer, of course, over there in Ireland, but. Yeah, they're going to be just fine. But a lot of things listing there, because K-State's a blue blood. They're a very important college football program. You got to have the Cats in Ireland sooner or later, and they've decided to go with the Sooner route. They also love, talking about the Aer Lingus College Football Classic, they love having a rivalry game a part of Week 0.
This is the best rivalry game we'll have had there yet. And so to be able to have a Big 12 conference game to kick off the season, quite frankly, with two teams that could face each other again in a conference championship game is really significant. To have two fan groups battle it out to who's going to have more fans there. We've generally been a little more one-sided than that. So that we just think that K-State with this Iowa State matchup is a perfect fit for what we're looking to do.
The only rivalry they've really ever had at this game is now 3 times they've had Notre Dame and Navy. I mean, this started all the way back in '88. Their first game, Boston College and Army, but it was an Emerald Isle Classic. You may remember that. They had the Shamrock Classic. And that was Notre Dame Navy. They had a Penn State UCF once upon a time. Boston College, Georgia Tech. A lot of ACC stuff. Nebraska Northwestern. I mean, I still look back at that game as yes, it was a 3-point game, but it was also a complete mess. Nobody wanted to win that game. And now they're going to get K-State and Iowa State up for Georgia Tech. Florida State play this game. So it'll be the second time Georgia Tech is going to play in Ireland. That'll be on August 24th of this year. I think we have one more clip to play, and that's Anthony once again talking about the exposure of this game.
The television audience of the last 2 years since we moved into Week 0 has averaged over 4 million viewers per game. You just don't get that throughout the year anywhere else. So That's a huge thing. This year we've got College Game Day. ESPN's bringing overseas for the first time ever out of the U.S. Don't know if they will in 25, but I can assure you we're going to try.
They're going to be over there. They're going to be over there.
Yep.
It's Farmageddon.
I promise.
With an actual trophy on the line.
How about that? You know how we like trophies around this town.
No, ESPN's going to get a huge bang for their buck with this trip to Ireland. The staff, the crew's going to all love that trip. I mean, I think it is a growing spectacle for college football. I think Week 0 continues to grow because it used to, for a while there was just kind of they had games in Australia there for a while, but there's nothing you really wanted to watch. If you have some actual Power 5 versus Power 5 games, first game of the year, Dublin, Ireland is certainly a sight. And as hungry as we get for college football to start every year, Week 0 will continue to grow, and K-State Iowa State will be a part of that. I think College Game Day will definitely be hungry to go back over.
Yeah, it's a pretty simple formula. People love college football. Give it to them a week earlier, and you're only giving them one game or two games. You get a lot more eyes on it, right? Everybody's kind of split up on Saturdays throughout the year. That Week 0 game, you have the entire. It's like Thursday Night Football. It could be a bad matchup. Everybody's sitting down to watch it. It's the only thing that's football on right now. So luckily, it's not a bad matchup. It's going to be a great game, and it's going to be a lot of fun for everybody involved.
Well, the game last year sucked.
Yeah.
It was all Notre Dame. Navy didn't show up. 42-3.
2025. It might be a boring game, but I hope not. I'd be okay with it being interesting as long as it's a Cats win in the long run.
Well, I'd imagine. I don't know how good. If Georgia Tech was any good last year, I don't remember. Florida State. Anyway. But, hey, it's a college football. I can watch any college football game.
Yeah, exactly. It's
I can
football.
watch, if it's FBS, FCS, I can watch any college football games. I'm definitely more interested in that.
Fair.
Florida State, Georgia Tech, I'll certainly be I'll be watching for sure. Let's take a break. Let's do Owen's final blindly ranked 5. This could be a fun one. It's coming up next. Owen going all wrestling themes on his way out.
It's the only way I know how to go out.
Mitch Fortin, Owen Burke, it's his last show today. We'll do an Owen exit interview at 5:10. Right now, it's time to play some blindly ranked 5. By the way, got K-State baseball coming up at 5:30, and first pitch 6:05. Cats versus the Fighting Latter-day Saints of BYU. 6:05, the official first pitch time. Here on News Radio KMAN, Matt Walters will be on the call. All right, blindly ranked 5 works like this. We're going to rank 5 things. I'll give Owen the category, and then one at a time, he'll be given something to rank. But he doesn't know what comes next, so it's all about anticipation. What does he think is going to be coming up? And then we just keep going on from there. Pretty simple, really. All right, so you ready to go?
I am ready as I'll ever be.
Well, today we all know about old Scotty Scheffler, the number 1 golfer in the world, arrested today. So today we're gonna rank forgotten arrests of athletes.
Yes. This is a great way to go out. I will take this as my last blindly ranked 5.
I don't have anything to write with. Hold on, I got to get a pen.
Hold on, folks. Play the Jeopardy music. Mitch is grabbing a pin. Now we're ready to rock.
Okay. You're going to go one at a time here. Don't know what's going to come next. Your first arrest that people might have forgotten about was on February 25th of 2017. Baker Mayfield was charged with public intoxication, disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and fleeing, according to the Washington County Sheriff's Office in Arkansas. Basically, late in the morning of that Saturday, he was talking to police, and then they're going to apprehend him, and he takes off running, and it was a pathetic display of running.
Oh, yeah.
Once you saw that video, it's like, that guy's going to be the quarterback of Oklahoma, and he runs like that.
Yep.
Boy, did that give people confidence.
Yeah. And then he won a Heisman. So
yeah, that's true.
The tape can be deceiving, folks.
What about Baker Mayfield, his arrest?
Man, I feel like that was a pretty small one in the grand scheme of things.
The funny thing about so when he got tackled, he's like, "Okay, I'm done. You're hurting me. I'm done. What did I do?"
I don't think I've ever heard the audio for it.
It's like, God, you guys being rough.
Okay, now the second we hit the
Like
hour
you didn't
break-
just run, Jabroni.
Yeah, I've got to go listen. That was probably Jabroni of the month there, I'd say, probably after that happened. I'm going to put Baker Mayfield at 4.
Wow.
Going on the low side, trying to leave the high end open.
Baker Mayfield at 4. We're ranking forgotten arrests of athletes. All right, your second athlete was back in 2018. You might recall Kansas City Royals starting pitcher Danny Duffy pleaded guilty to a charge of driving under the influence stemming from an incident at a Burger King in Overland Park. What happened was he was in line at the drive-thru and he fell asleep, sitting idle in his car, fallen asleep behind the wheel. Upon being woken up by another driver, he attempted to drive away but dropped his credit card, and then police then arrived. That allowed police to arrive, and then they cited him for DUI. Danny Duffy.
That's such a good one because it's such a great story. Fell asleep in a Burger King drive-thru. How'd you get popped for DUI? Wasn't a random checkpoint. Didn't run into anybody or anything. Fell asleep in a Burger King drive-thru. And I dropped my credit card. I'm gonna put that one at 2. I'm gonna put it up there.
Duffman in number 2. You have Baker Mayfield in number 4. We are ranking forgotten arrests of athletes. 2 and 4 are taken. We're at number 3. See if you remember this one. You may be too young. See, this was about, 16 years ago. All right, Plaxico Burress in 2008. He shot himself in the leg at a New York City nightclub. So this was right after he was injured, wasn't cleared to play, so stayed home while who they played for? The Giants, right? He had to be the Giants. So the Giants were on the road. He had to stay home, and instead of just hanging out, getting healthy, he went out. Yeah, he went out to a nightclub, was carrying some heat, and reached into his pocket, accidentally shoots himself. The first thing he did was look around to make sure nobody noticed.
God, I want to put that one at 1.
And he was issued a. I think he was officially charged with that.
I don't vividly remember that happening and reacting to it, but I've definitely heard that story many a times. I'm going to put Plaxico at 1. It's an early jump to the 1 spot, but that's up there with some of the best stories I think I can remember around NFL. How'd you miss half a season? I shot myself in the leg. It's up there.
Yeah, he missed some extra time because of that, as you can imagine. All right, so you have Plaxico Burress at number 1, Danny Duffy at 2, Baker Mayfield at 4. We still have 2 forgotten arrests of athletes. Well, actually, this is more of a coach with number 4, and that's Joe Cullen. This is back also in 2008. This was the time he was with the Detroit Lions as a defensive line coach. Boy, was he boozed up, and he also decided to go out to a fast food restaurant and get some grub. In the past, I don't know if he's still the same because I'll give you some information about this guy here in just a moment, but there had been already a couple of times where he had been arrested for DUI, being too drunk in public. Decided to go out for a cup of chili, get a Frosty maybe, a couple of Baconators. Well, the lady at the drive-thru window opens up the window and notices, Coach Cullen is buck naked.
I don't know if I've heard this one.
And so to kind of play this off, she's like, all right, we're cooking your food. Do you mind pulling up and we'll bring the food out to you? That happens at fast food restaurants all the time, especially when you order onion rings. Well, they never have onion rings ready to go, so they're specially made for you. So he pulls around and that allows the cops to get there, and he's fined $20,000 by the NFL.
Since I don't know that one that much, I'm going to put that guy down at 5.
All right. By the way, he's now the defensive line coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. Your final athlete is Eugene Robinson. The night prior of Super Bowl 33, he hired a prostitute. She ended up being an undercover cop. He was arrested the night before the Super Bowl, and he gives up 2 touchdowns to the Denver Broncos.
So he pulled a Scotty Scheffler, got back into the game, except it did not go well for him afterwards.
Robinson, number 3. Owen, That wraps up hour number 1. Let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back with a short hour number 2, and it's Owen's exit interview coming up next as you're listening to the game. It is a short hour number 2, the game after work. Mitch Fortner and Owen Burke. We got the Batcats coming up at 5:30 as K-State takes on BYU for Game 2 of 3 at Toyton Family Stadium. Pre-game 5:30, first pitch at 6:05. Cats walking off last night. In the bottom of the 12th, bases loaded, Kyan Lotus with a line drive single right up the middle to win it for the Cats as they are now back to 500 in the Big 12, looking for the series win against BYU. Well, today is Owen's last day on the show, and I've never done this before. I've thought about it, haven't pulled the trigger. We're going to try this out because I've heard of managers doing this. Mm-hmm. This maybe isn't a Manhattan Broadcasting thing, but maybe I want to make it a thing on the show. Whenever we have somebody leave the show, we're going to do an exit interview.
I like the idea. And personally, I think you should start doing interviews when they have their first day. And just for test's sake, do it to Troy when he gets back. When he gets back, you're like, we're going to have to actually re-interview you for the spot. We've had a lot of hot competition coming in here lately.
Yeah, like so. I let AJ, have a little bit more responsibility around here. You know what? He kind of impressed me.
Yeah, he knows his stuff. He's a real smart guy, and if Owen wasn't leaving, he did pretty well with the Royal stuff. So I think you lucked out. He got a job in Texas.
Yeah, coming up the day after Memorial Day, we're going to have a morning show host off. And see who can pull the best ratings. And the winner, it's winner take all.
I love it.
All right, Owen, so I have a series of questions for you as you now exit from the game. You exit from K-Man and Manhattan Broadcasting. Question number 1, tell us what you got going on after this. Why are you leaving us?
So I got I've had a buddy since, we've been friends since middle school. He's been working down at Tops with trading cards and such for about 2 years down in Texas. He's been trying to get me down there, and finally have the money saved up. They fired a couple people, so they're looking for new guys, and I interviewed for it and got the job on the spot. So I'll be heading down to the Dallas area and be working around a lot of really cool game worn and autographed memorabilia and stuff for future projects with baseball cards. So
are they going to have you wear like white gloves to handle all this stuff?
I don't know. I know that there's not a super strict dress code, which I'm all for. I've been wearing sweatpants in the summertime for 3 years.
I'm not a big dress code guy either, man.
I'm not.
I just like to relax,
Just as long as it's appropriate, who cares? So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if there's a white glove policy or not. I'll have to look in my employee handbook for that one.
All right, the next question is, I know you're more of a pro sports guy, but did you have a favorite K-State player during your time here?
Ooh, that's a great question. The ones that stick out are because I want to say I went to 3 or 4 games since I've lived up here. Even I think it was before I started the station. God, what's his name? We always talk about him. He's an outside linebacker this year. Outside linebacker, maybe. He's an edge rusher.
Oh, edge,
maybe.
This year?
Yeah, this year. He's coming back.
Malcolm Alcorn Crowder from Butler?
No, that's a good one.
Yeah,
when I saw him
played yet.
Yeah, when I saw him pop up in the transfer list, I was very excited.
Brendan Mott, Cody Stufflebean.
Why am I blanking? He's coming back for this season. He was my favorite guy last year. Starts with a D, maybe.
Desmond Purnell?
That one, Desmond Purnell.
He's a Sam linebacker.
Sam linebacker, yeah. That's what it is.
He's good. Yeah.
He is. Well, the thing is when you go to a game, I think it's a lot more noticeable when you're there. And you're sitting in the stands, you're watching, and sometimes you're talking, you're not really watching. But whenever you just hear the same guy's name, and I hear it from you too, and I hear Desmond Purnell like 7 times and a half, and I'm like, this kid is flying around the football. I like guys that get around, and he made a lot of plays this last year. I'm very excited to see what he does on the defensive side of the ball this year.
What do you think of garden gnomes?
What do I think of garden gnomes? Generally, not a huge fan. I think they can get kind of creepy at times. I am a fan of the sports themes garden gnome. Like if you had I've thought about buying a Baltimore Ravens garden gnome for a while. I've always just held off. I don't know what's scared me away from that purchase, but so I would say indifferent is where I'm at with garden gnomes.
See, I just wonder why do they all look like homeless bums?
That's a great question. It's the same signature white beard, scruffy hair underneath the hat. It is almost always the same look? That's a great question.
Thinking about taking one, putting it up in the front yard with a cardboard sign and a cup and see what kind of haul I can bring in today.
I mean, just at least a couple quarters, you know.
All right, next question. Do you have a favorite Tom Hanks movie?
Favorite Tom Hanks? That's a great question. Ooh. Man, I really like, it's been a long time since I've seen it. The one where he's playing Sully, the captain, the plane that landed
in the Hudson.
Yeah. That one's really good.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think I've only seen it the first time. It was a really good movie. And then I'm going to have to probably, for the true answer, the full answer, is going to be probably Polar Express. Does that count?
That's a great movie. Absolutely.
I mean, he plays 4 characters. That's my mom's favorite movie of all time. She's a huge Christmas person. So I would have to ride with my mom on that pick. I'd probably go Polar Express.
I didn't know he played 4 characters. Guys, you think he's Eddie Murphy or something? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think he's the conductor, he's Santa Claus, he's the kid, and then he's like the narrator at the end. It's insane.
Because Tom Hanks isn't a big, like, different voice guy.
No, he's not.
He's Tom Hanks. He's got the Tom Hanks voice.
Exactly, yeah. And so I was surprised to figure that out, too, when I got older. But we used to watch that movie all the time.
I'm a big fan of The Terminal.
Terminal?
It's when he's, like, from Kazakhstan or something.
Yeah.
Flies in to meet a jazz musician to get an autograph because it was his dad's dying wish, or like he had a collection. Mm-hmm. And his country is in like a civil war, so he's stranded at JFK in New York City for months.
Yeah, I think
it's a good movie.
I've seen clips from that one. That one does look good.
What lessons are you going to take away from being on this show and working here at K-Man?
That's great. Little bit, I think I've become a little bit better at improv and just being able to, you got to go. There's not a time to sit here and think about it. There's not a redo. So it's a lot of just the quick trigger reaction of this is what's going to happen next. This is where this conversation's going or whatnot. That, and then also like a little bit of stress management, like just handling more difficult, not difficult situations, but like stressful. Like I take running the board very seriously and doing all this stuff that I try to do over there to make the show sound as good as possible. And sometimes you have 6 things that you're trying to, record this and document that and that. And so being able to sit there and just trying to compartmentalize and take all 6 things you're doing at once and just trying to do the best job you can. So a little bit of just doing it, just going.
We're doing Owen's exit interview. This is his last day on the show. So I know, again, all these questions, like you didn't know these ahead of time. Mm-hmm. These are all just kind of on the spot. Did you have a favorite guest that we had on? You were never a part of a show where we had an AEW wrestler on. And I've done plenty of those interviews, but you never were never a part of that show.
It never lined up, and I never got a chance to talk to Wyatt either because I never did Wildcat Insider on Mondays. I would have loved to do either of those. We had Dalton Reisner on, correct? Yeah. That one's probably up there for one of my favorite ones. Currently, ESPN has him landing with the Baltimore Ravens this offseason, so I'd be all for that because we need a guard. So I'd have to go with Dalton Reisner. Maybe I'll put it in the universe. Maybe he'll hear this. He's a big fan of the show. Maybe he'll decide to go to Baltimore. I'll take that.
Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck?
That's a great question. 100? Man, ducks aren't that small. Like, that's a lot of... But also 1 large duck is terrifying. Now, if you said 1 large geese, I'm taking the 100 duck-sized horses because geese are terrifying. Ducks, I don't know. I think I could take a duck, a horse-sized duck. I'm going to go with the 1-on-1.
I think the 100 horses could be some real ankle biters.
I agree.
Some real pains, but and if they start kicking and stuff, like
those leg kicks are insane. They're gonna get you.
I think I'd take the 100 though. Like one duck size anything, or 1 horse duck in any size. Like they can be. I think they can be a little feisty sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, if it was a geese, there's no contest because geese are terrifying. But ducks, a little bit smaller. It is size of a horse, but I think I'd take my chances.
Well, and being horse size, there's no way that duck is going to fly away.
No. I would hope that they can't fly out.
This is ground and pound.
Exactly. And I'll take my chances in a ground and pound game any day of the week.
What's your favorite wrestling match of all time?
Ooh, man. Of all the questions, that's the one I wish I had a chance to prepare for.
See, I can tell you mine so easily.
So easily? What is
it was such a work of art. Bret Hart, Owen Hart, WrestleMania 10, opening match, Madison Square Garden, March of 1994. I have a poster of the WrestleMania 10 official poster at my house. I did a trade with a buddy of mine to get that.
I can imagine that tore the house down. Those guys could go. There's so many that come to mind. I really liked, there was what did they call it? The Young Bucks and the Lucha Brothers, one of their many, I think it was a ladder match. It was a ladder match of death. But it's, what is it?
So this would not have been in AEW. It could have been
AAA
or
I think
New
it was
Japan.
I think it was AEW All In. So it was like when they were doing the pay-per-views before they actually started the company. They had 2 shows beforehand. That ladder match is really good. It's a spot fest purely. Like you're seeing guys that go through tables. It's not a lot of great technical work, but it is. Holy cow! It's a spot fest.
Well, that's what those two teams do. You're
Yeah.
right. All Out. In actually, it was just a couple of years. Last year, they had a ladder match.
They probably had another one. There was one beforehand, and I think it was 20.
Oh, yes, it does say the first All Out. Okay,
Yeah. So I think it was.
I don't remember that one.
It was that one. There was. I think the main spot I remember from that match was Penta hit a it was a Spanish destroyer off a ladder through a table, and I was like, yeah, these guys are insane. So.
All right, last questions. Any grievances you need to get off your chest? Anything you need me to know?
Try to avoid an angry employee coming back at you. Is that what this is? I promise I won't ever go on Twitter during the show and get after you like we had earlier this week. I won't do that to you. I don't even remember what that was about now. You remember the guy that live tweeted you in the middle of the show on Tuesday? Oh, I don't think
I didn't do my research on something, I guess.
Maybe it was that. I've got a question for you.
Okay.
It's not a grievance, but I'm just curious because I'm going to test you back. Can you name me both transfers that were that K-State landed yesterday for basketball?
Well, Achor.
Yep.
And then you have Moby Ike Garuka.
There it is. I was trying to talk to a buddy at work today about it, and I was like, I can't remember. I pronounced it all day yesterday. I can't get it now.
But I can't just blast it off the tongue.
You got to think for a second.
I have to think about each. Can I see it right in my head? And it's Moby Ike Garuka.
Ike Garuka, there it is.
Ike Garuka.
Yeah, I don't think I've got any grievances. I've had a pretty good time. We have a lot of fun around here, and it gets stressful at times, but that is the profession of live radio. So I enjoy it. If anybody has I enjoy it a lot. I don't have any grievances for you. I really don't. You're not going to get an angry email from me in a couple months, other than maybe. Man, I really miss doing the show. Yeah, you want to take me back? If I land back up here this way, trust me, I'll come search you guys out. I'll be back in town. But
I think we'll always have a spot for you in case you ever do want to come back. But I honestly would rather have it work out for you in Dallas because I know you're really looking forward to that job, and that's something you're really going to enjoy. And a really important job about having a job is having fun because then it doesn't feel like a job. You want to be there. And honestly, that's a really hard thing to find for most people.
It is.
Most people never find that. Find that true happiness of you look forward to going to work. You like the people you work with. You get to be in an environment that you're meant to be in. Those kind of things are hard to find sometimes, but I think you found that. So, and I hope it really does work out for you. But I appreciate everything you've done here on the show. I appreciate your knowledge that you bring. And that was mostly, NFL, baseball. Whenever we would branch out into those topics, you had no issue.
Yep.
And, I don't know if there is a topic that I truly have like that kind of just – I have like AJ has an insane memory. That's my problem. I don't have a very good memory. My short-term memory is so bad. It's probably all the concussions I had from back in the day. But my memory is so bad, and I hate that. That's my biggest flaw. But you certainly brought a lot to the table. I wish we could have done more with what you do so well. But I'm very excited for your next endeavors. So you're officially I'll fire you here about 5:30. We'll make it official, full firing and everything. I will say best of luck in your future endeavors. Give you the old Vince McMahon adios.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And what we're gonna do now is I'm going to head out to Toyton Family Stadium. I'll let you have your last segment like we did yesterday. I thought you did a pretty good job. Whatever you want to talk about, the floor is yours to wrap up today's show. Sound good?
I appreciate that, and I will take it and I'll run with it. But the concept of this guy's on his last day. I'm going to give him a live microphone by himself for 5 minutes. It might bite you. I don't know. Hopefully not.
I trust you. So
he's like, oh, man.
Listen, I can always make a phone call.
Yeah, that's true.
I know some people in Dallas. They don't work for Tops. But maybe they know somebody that knows somebody.
I'm going to have some busted kneecaps my first week down there is what it sounds like.
Well, next time when AEW's in Dallas, I'll get you a couple of tickets so you can go as a thank you. How about that?
I'll take that, And if you want to drive down, feel free. We can go together. I'm okay with that too.
Well, I plan on being down there for a lot of Decembers in the future for the Big 12 championship games. So,
okay, all right.
I will definitely hit you up. But, Owen, love the name. Appreciate all your work you did, and thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Thank you.
All right, I'm heading to Toyton Family Stadium. Owen will take you out coming up next.
Welcome back into the game after work here on News Radio KMAN. I am Owen Burke. Mitch has left me with the honored task to take us until 5:30. BYU is still in town. The Batcats have Game 2 of that series tonight. Game 3 will be tomorrow on Saturday. Obviously, BYU not playing on Sundays, hence the Thursday, Friday, Saturday slate that we have ahead of us. And, folks, the next 4 minutes or so is just going to be me trying to hold it together and not tear up. It is a very bittersweet moment for me to be leaving KMAN. I've enjoyed my time here very, very much so. It's what I wanted to do. It's what I still want to do is be in radio and do this kind of stuff, work with people like Mitch and all the people that work here at Manhattan Broadcasting Company. I could go on for hours thanking everyone that's here and that has helped me on this journey. I could dig back to college and dig up a couple professors for you, but I want to take a second and give a huge thank you to both Mitch and Troy, to Dave G when he was on the show, the excellent character that Dave G is. Mitch and Troy have been a very large influence in my radio career, teaching me a lot of stuff, how to do things on the fly, how to do these things live, and I have learned a lot in my time here, and I would not trade it for anything in the world. So as much as I am looking forward to Texas, the thing I'm most looking forward to is, getting back to a regular work schedule, this being my second job. I have a lot of hours outside of the house, so getting back to my family and spending some time with my 2-year-old, I'm very much so looking forward to. But to Troy, Mitch, Steven, Dave, Bill, Matt, Mike, Asha, everybody here, and there's names that I forgot now, Brandon, everybody that's here has been great to me. A super fun place to work, one of my favorite jobs ever, with some of my favorite people that I've had a pleasure to work with. So I'm trying to hold the tears back, so I'm sorry if I stop for a second. But it's a long, extended thank you, but it is one that is well-deserved and well-needed. I appreciate everything that those guys have done for me. Those guys are great cats, and, if you guys are going to miss me too much, you'll just have to keep listening. There may be a random 4 to 6 time frame where I give this place a call and rejoin the show just for the fun of it. I'm going to be getting off at 4:30 every day. I have the freedom to call in when I want to now. So maybe call in, give these guys some gruff, talk to Troy about the Royals. Anything that I so feel please, I know the phone number. It's memorized. I have it saved in my phone because I have a horrible memory, just like Mitch. I might be able to remember 53 players to the Baltimore Ravens roster. I cannot remember a phone number, okay? But you hear the lovely music. That means we're on our way out. The Batcats are coming up for Game 2 against the Cougars. Don't go anywhere. Matt Walters is on the call. That first pitch is coming up right at 6:05. So again, I've been Owen Burke. This has been The Game. I appreciate you guys hanging out and listening to us every day on your drive home from work. Don't go anywhere. The Cats are up next. Game 3 of the series tomorrow. That's going to do it for me here, folks. I appreciate it. Go Cats.